The canon timeline has come to a conclusion, and Red Hood and the Outlaws are the conclusion of a short reboot of DC-verse, which is considered a good starting point for the new readers. Now, James Todd, professionally known as Red Hood, leads an underrated group of heroes called the Outlaws that consists of some heroes like Princess Coriander, also known as Starfire, Arsenal, Crux, and Rose. And all of them are together on a mission in Brazil's famous Amazon rainforest for an operation. After the sudden disappearance of Starfire, Red Hood battled with the Crux to gain info on her location. However, the battle ended in Crux's favor as Red Hood fell unconscious. After a few moments, he wakes up and Crux hugs him because he made him realize the path he chose. Now, putting their grudges away, Crux joins the Outlaws, and together, with his immense knowledge of tracking, they journey together into the unknown to find someone who clearly does not want to be found. While Red Hood believes Starfire can protect herself, she's already caught up in a mess with her sister, Blackfire. Now, Red Hood, Crux, Starfire, Arsenal, and Rose are together in Brazil's rainforest. However, the tides turn when Helspont finds them. The situation goes south when Red Hood starts to shoot at them, and everyone else remains shocked as Red Hood thinks, something found us too. As everyone fights him back, Red Hood reveals, his name is Helspont. I can tell just looking at him. I've been aware of him for a while now. I admit he is a lot more intimidating in person. Starfire says, Helspont is the vilest genocidal warlord in all the universe, basically warning the Outlaws that he is someone not to be messed around with. Red Hood once again reintroduces himself and everyone by their superhero names. The bow guy is Roy Harper, Arsenal. The love of his life is Princess Coriander, Starfire. Dr. Simon Amal, Crux, and everyone's favorite mercenary, Rose Wilson. All of their attacks fail to penetrate Hellspont's armor until Arsenal's arrow hits him, but it initially does nothing. Helspont exclaims, An arrow? This is almost too adorable to take offense. But he suddenly gets the life zapped out of him. While he is being electrocuted, Starfire uses her lasers to attack him, which causes an explosion. Red Hood says, That didn't take as long as I thought it would. But suddenly, Helspont charges his blue aura with a huge explosion that sends everyone flying, and he says, I am used to being challenged by warriors. Only Earthers assume to send children. However, Rose regains her posture, and she tries to attack Helspont by throwing two swords, and she says, My dad would appreciate hearing that. He always said I never knew where to put my toys. The two swords penetrate Hellspont's armor, and everyone watches him as he takes them out and crumbles them to dust. Suddenly, Hellspont's army surrounds them from every corner, and suddenly, Red Hood hears a voice saying, Enough. The next move against our liege will be your last. Now, with the voice in his mind, he thinks to himself, I don't recognize the voice at first, but Corey. As everyone else is surprised to see the person behind the voice. Blackfire arrives and says, There's no need to feel bad for my sister. There's a war coming, albeit a one-sided war. She calls Helspont her ultimate victor, and Rose taunts Starfire. Some sister you got there. I did not realize you came from a whole family of losers. Multiple ships fly over their heads, and Helspont reveals, The people of Tamarin were wise to align themselves with my wishes. In exchange for their commander-in-chief, I will grant them relative freedom. A generous offer I am not making to your planet. This explains his hatred towards the Earthians. While the Outlaws are still surrounded, Crux sighs and says, Isn't that interesting? This prompts Red Hood to ask, Which that, Simon? Meanwhile, Blackfire tells Helspont that the Citadel army is ready for the attack, and she asks him to spare her sister's life. He calls this situation unlikely to happen, and Starfire starts to shake up. But Arsenal calms her down as he says, Steady, Angel. We will figure this out. Now, Red Hood and Crux converse, where Crux reminds him, You know, I dedicated my life to studying aliens, their culture, and their weapons. Red Hood remembers it happened after his parents' death, and Crux continues. One of the races I studied was the Citadel. Those breastplates they wear are wired directly to their brains and to each other. Red Hood asks if he can take the entire army down by flipping a switch. If Crux is given the opportunity, he can. Rose becomes confident and says they will make sure to give him that chance that would turn the tides of this battle on a large scale. While Helspont complains to Blackfire about his soldiers' worthlessness, Red Hood says, "You're getting a little flaming ahead of yourself. I know you got my message, but let me make it clear. This planet isn't yours. Not yet. Not ever." This makes Helspont angry, prompting him to say,
I cannot take a moment anymore. Commander, you know what to do.
Now, as Blackfire silently sits behind him, she knows what to do, and suddenly casts an absurdly powerful spell that releases electricity from every part of Hellspont's body. With this betrayal, Helspont grabs her and asks how dare she. She curses him in another language, and Helspont picks her up and throws her away somewhere quite far from their location. Starfire becomes worried, and Red Hood begins to shoot his way out of the enemies that surround the Outlaws. As one of the soldiers falls, Red Hood says, "This one is all yours, Simon." Crux gets up on him and picks up his tablet. He says, "I'm going to need 5 minutes." On the other hand, Rose defeats another Helspont soldier, and she tells Crux, "You have 2. Meanwhile, Starfire becomes enraged to see Helspont hurt his sister, and she emits lasers from her hand to attack Helspont as she says, "If you hurt my sister, I will kill you." As the lasers hit Helspont, he tells Starfire that it is impossible to kill him. He flies away from the impact of those lasers, and Red Hood tells her to find her sister. While Starfire tries to argue her way out, Red Hood says, "We've got this," and he shoots another soldier. The battle intensifies with each passing second, and Rose counts all the soldiers she kills. 117, 118, but Crux thinks it is not as helpful as she thinks. After a few minutes of tweaking the tablet, Crux confidently says, "There, that should do it." Rose mocks, "Should I do it?" Crux counters and says, "This is hardly an exact science, madam." Now, as every Outlaws member tries to cover Crux till he gets inside the mainframe of the aliens, Starfire follows the trail that seemingly leads to Blackfire. She reaches a dead end, with fire everywhere, as she prays that she must not die. However, she's late, and when she finds Blackfire, she lies down lifeless. Starfire screams at the top of her lungs as she sees her lifeless sister on the ground, with all the burning debris around her. Red Hood hears her from afar and thinks, "Poor girl. It sounds like she lost her soul." Suddenly, Helspont gets up, grabs Red Hood by the neck, and tells him to
Pay attention. You might miss the part where I tear your head off.
As he threatens Red Hood, Helspont suddenly watches all of his army's heads turn into fireballs, and he remains stunned. Crux shapeshifts into his alien form, and Rose rushes together towards Helspont. Helspont says,
Die knowing your victory means nothing. There are more soldiers where they came from. There are more powerful weapons in this universe than you can imagine.
As he continues to hold Red Hood by his throat. To his surprise, Helspont is suddenly caught in a massive explosion that frees Red Hood. After Red Hood becomes free, he sees Arsenal in a giant cannon machine, which causes an explosion and burns Helspont to a crisp. A few moments later, the Outlaws return to Blackfire's ship, and she lies down on a bed with an oxygen mask. Starfire says, "We are a resilient people. If I can get her home on time, I believe she will recover." While Arsenal has doubts, Red Hood asks, "If there's anything we can do?" She says, "I will be fine, guys. Simon will pilot the ship so I can stay by her side." While Crux pilots the ship, the three get down from the ship, and Starfire thanks them. Arsenal asks, "For what?" And she replies, "For letting me do it alone. It's a family matter." In the end, Starfire hugs Red Hood, kisses Arsenal, and Arsenal asks, "Remember me?" She replies, "Forever and a day." She flies off in her ship with Crux, and Red Hood, Rose, and Arsenal stay on the ground. Arsenal turns back and says, "Look, why don't you go on without me? I'm going to, check out the spoils of the war, destroy what's left." Red Hood agrees to his idea, and before he leaves, he hugs him. After Arsenal leaves, Rose tells Red Hood, "It's okay to take a minute. That couldn't be easy. You lost your team." However, Red Hood ends the conversation with, "We weren't a team. We were friends, helping each other pick up the pieces of our lives. We were outlaws," as he walks away with Rose and remembers his friends. What a great ride. However, their story does not end here. The Outlaws sure have a lot of upcoming adventures. Thanks for watching our video, and make sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button to stay notified about the upcoming video of the series.